evening. It's 6 o'clock on Thursday, September 1st, 2016. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight for the English edition of Aura News, where we bring you today's top stories translated into English every weeknight. The Prosecutor General's office has responded to the new constitution of Albania, noting that some essential procedural aspects are not applicable because of the legal basis. The prosecution states that the new constitution created a deadlock between the activities of the justice institutions. The Prosecutor General's office states that it is concerned that unlike other institutions, the transitional provisions for regulating the activities of the justice institutions until the full package of the legal justice reform is implemented are not provided for the prosecution. The Prosecutor General's office does not intend to find out the reasons which prompted the Constitution drafters in this difference of treatment for the institution, but is keen to suggest solutions that serve the progress in further activity, reads the response. In this regard, the prosecution states that it has formally requested the decision-making institutions to develop constitutional norms which avoid deadlock on several issues. The chairman of the Ad Hoc Commission on Judicial Reform, Fatmir Jafai, held a meeting with stakeholders and media reps today to address their concern regarding two articles of the judicial reform draft laws, which could violate media freedom. The Association of Media rejects Article 6 and Article 13 of the Bill on Prosecution, which speak about punishment for improper influence over the prosecutor's work. It is learned that the chairman of the Ad Hoc Commission and the media reps agreed on a reformulation of the articles in order to not violate media freedoms. The law guarantees prosecutors the necessary autonomy and independence to exert their duties without internal or external illegal interventions by any public or private authority. The bills for the special prosecution against organized crime and corruption and the bill on prosecution will be discussed in the Ad Hoc Commission over the coming days. Democratic Party Chairman Lulzam Basha received Mr. Engel today, who is the Vice Chairman of the Committee for Foreign Affairs in the U.S. Congress. Mr. Engel was accompanied by the renowned Albanian-American dignitary Harry Bayraktari and the U.S. Ambassador Donald Liu. Mr. Basha thanked the congressman for his valuable contribution to Albania and Kosovo and for the commitment to democracy in Albania. An announcement delivered to the media by the Democratic Party headquarters says that U.S. Congressman Engel praised the DP chairman's role in the process of drafting the constitutional amendments and for the positive signal the political will gives Albania's integration into the European Union. Meanwhile, the opposition's leader emphasized that the Democratic Party continues to contribute to the legal framework of the judicial reform, reiterating that it cannot and must not violate the constitutional provisions adopted with consensus on July 22nd. During the meeting with the U.S. Congressman, the DP chairman raised his concerns about free and fair elections as well as the level of crime and corruption. Referring to the elections in Dibra, the Democrats' leaders stressed that the strengthening of ties between crime and politics is seen during these elections. In this context, Mr. Basha shared with Congressman Engel his concern about the full implementation of the decriminalization law and the separation of politics from crime. The Democratic Party filed a lawsuit in the prosecution's serious crimes against a group of public functionaries in Dibra. The Democratic Party is accusing them of vote buying and intimidating citizens to vote in favor of the majority's candidate. In their lawsuit, the Democrats claim that the structured criminal group is led by director of the regional Dibra Taxes Dictorate. In its lawsuit, the Democratic Party alleges that this group has been pressuring Dibra voters for more than 10 days and applying the criminal scheme of vote buying. According to the Democratic Party, the director of Dibra's regional tax directorate brings money to deliver it to different areas. The Democratic Party also listed the chief of Peshkopia Police Department in its lawsuit, the regional education director and a doctor, and the director of social services in Dibra. Prime Minister Edi Rama dismissed the director of the National Food Authority. It is learned that the Minister of Agriculture proposed the dismissal, which was agreed to and signed by the Prime Minister at yesterday's governmental meeting. The former director of the National Food Authority was appointed in January of this year, but his work has continuously been criticized in the media due to the absence of food safety precautions and citizens' complaints. For several months, an Aura News journalist made concrete field investigations and routinely found expired products in the markets, and found meat being sold in markets that do not have the necessary hygienic conditions. Consumers raised their concerns about the health risks stemming from an absence of food authority measures that should have been taken. The government is expected to appoint a new National Food Authority director. The electoral campaign continues in Dibra as the September 11th election is approaching. The majority's candidate continued to meet with Dibra's village residents, where he was accompanied by the chairman of the Socialist Parliamentary Group and other MPs of the allied parties in government. They praised the majority's candidate as the best alternative for Dibra. For 20 years, our party has wanted to have a candidate in this area, but we have hesitated. This time we do not hesitate because we chose a person whose profession helps him a lot. Before curing a patient, a diagnosis needs to be defined, and he has defined the problems and diagnoses of the Dibra citizens. Before entering the surgery, he should be convinced for the success of the surgery, and now he is convinced that he is capable of fixing the problems of Dibra's people, declared the chairman of the Socialist Parliamentary Group. The majority's candidate promised certification of all properties in villages, investments in infrastructure, reconstruction of schools and healthcare centers, and investments in water supply channels. The opposition's candidate for Dibra's mayor met with some traders and business reps today in Dibra, where he presented his platform. The Democratic Party chairman, Basha, also participated in the meeting. The opposition's candidate promised to reduce taxes and bureaucracies for businesses. Our program includes tax reductions and tax cuts. There is no need to have 24 different taxes from City Hall. Taxes should not take businesses towards bankruptcy. You will only pay for taxes for services you receive. If people have water only once a day and not 24 hours, what's the reason to increase the water's tax? If people do not pollute the environment, why should they have a higher tax? We will also work to improve infrastructure and attract investors. We will organize local fairs in order to attract investors, declared the opposition's candidate. Afterwards, the Democratic Party chairman, Basha, declared that arrogance, fines, and high taxes have shut down many businesses and are taking other businesses towards bankruptcy. Taxes have increased, tariffs have decreased, the government's arrogance has increased, repression has increased, energy and oil prices have increased. All these burden the citizens. They favor friends of the government, declared the DP chairman, adding that a reduction of taxes and tariffs in Dibra City is only the first step. He continued that with him as Prime Minister, taxes will decrease nationally, promising a 9% flat rate tax, 9% social insurances, 15% value-added tax, and investments that open new jobs and improve people's lives. Tirana's City Hall has decided to return to the project of soft loans for housing, which was suspended by the government previously because of past abuses. Starting next year, 2,000 families are expected to benefit from the project, which can generate $60 million in revenue for the banks. Starting next year, Tirana's City Hall will give $1 million towards 2,000 soft loans that could generate $60 million for the banks from the real estate market. 2,000 new families will have the opportunity to buy their apartments in Tirana. City Hall will start the soft loans project alone, independent of the government, declared Tirana's mayor, Ariane Villiers, who asks citizens who are occupying student premises to liberate them and apply for social houses. The mayor made the statement during the inauguration of the electrical school's dormitory. That's all for our English edition this evening. Please join us again Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. for your local news in English. My name is Mari, and on behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.